Cleopatra Sevens. She was born in the city of Alexandria in 99 BC. Cleopatra, originally a Greek, ascended the throne with her brother Ptolemy V after the death of her father Ptolemy V. The Greeks, who ruled Egypt at the time, married people of their own lineage in order not to interfere with Egyptian society. Therefore, Cleopatra married her own brother and became the Queen of Egypt. Cleopatra, who was only 68 years old when her father died, became the dominant figure in the government compared to her brother. In the following years, she was removed from power by her brother and exiled to Syria. But this only fueled Cleopatra's desire to take over Egypt. She gathered her own army in Syria and declared war on her brother. It seemed unlikely that she would win a victory against her brother, the Pharaoh of Egypt. However, the arrival of the Roman dictator Julius Caesar in Egypt was a great opportunity for Cleopatra. Cleopatra thought that she needed the support of Rome to regain her power in Egypt. For this reason, Cleopatra became close to the Roman dictator Julius Caesar and managed to make him fall in love with her. Eventually, Julius Caesar, who had an unofficial marriage with Cleopatra, defeated the Egyptian pharaoh and fed him to crocodiles. Thus, Cleopatra became the Queen of Egypt again. She even had a child with Julius Caesar named Caesarion, so Cleopatra became not only the Queen of Egypt but also the most powerful woman in Rome. This situation continued until Caesar was murdered. After Caesar's assassination, Rome was in chaos. There was a fierce struggle between Caesar's commanders and those who organized the assassination. While Rome was going through a great civil war, Cleopatra secretly returned to Egypt and tried to consolidate her power there. However, it was not possible for Egypt to deal with Rome on its own. After the great chaos in Rome, the government of Rome was split in two, with Augustus, Caesar's nephew, in the west, and Marcus Antony, one of Caesar's most trusted generals, in the east. Marcus Antony ruled the eastern part of Rome, and his first order of business was to consolidate Roman rule in Egypt. Cleopatra could have lost her throne. Therefore, in order to secure her throne, she tried to get closer to Marcus Antony. In a short time, Cleopatra managed to make this Roman general fall in love with her. In fact, Cleopatra was not a legendary beauty, but she had a fatal charm. She spoke 4 languages at an advanced level and was well educated in ancient Greek philosophy, mathematics, and astronomy. She was very good at influencing people. In this way, she managed to steal the heart of a brilliant general like Marcus Antony and persuaded him to marry her. Thus, Cleopatra, the Queen of Egypt, was now also the Queen of Marcus Antony. Since Marcus Antony was madly in love with her, he could make her agree to anything he wanted. By Marcus Antony's order, Cleopatra was given the administration and revenues of the regions from Egypt to Syria and from the Caucasus to the Caspian Sea. This was not acceptable to the Roman Senate. The relationship between Octavianus and Antonius was already very tense as a result of growing rivalries. This last action was enough to break the ties. Octavianus, who ruled in the west of Rome, announced that he did not accept the lands given to the Egyptian queen and declared war against Cleopatra. In the face of this declaration of war, Marcus Antony declared that he had taken Cleopatra under his protection and declared war on Octavianus. Marcus Antony was one of the most successful commanders Rome had ever seen. He had been trained by Jules Caesar himself. His soldiers trusted him and thought he would not lose the war. So Cleopatra and Marcus Antony set sail for the Ionian Sea with 500 ships. Octavian had only 300 ships. Moreover, he was not as successful a commander as Marcus Antony. But he was a good politician and administrator. When Marcus Antony and Cleopatra reached the Ionian Sea, they set up a defense line across western Greece. Marcus Antony was good at land warfare. He had little experience in naval warfare, so he wanted to meet Octavian's forces in this area. His main ships were anchored in the Gulf of Amraca with Egyptian treasures. He expected Octavian to make the first move. Octavian put the fleet under the command of Admiral Agrippa, famous for his heroism. He captured the island of Corfu, where Antony's troops were fewest, and landed 80,000 men and 12,000 cavalry. Upon receiving the news, Marcus Antony swiftly initiated his army's preparations to confront their opposition. It became apparent that a monumental conflict would occur on the land in Epirus. But it didn't. Admiral Agrippa arrived quickly with 300 ships and blockaded Antony's 500 ships in the Gulf of Amraca. It was at this point that Marcus Antony and his commanders found themselves in an unexpected situation. If they moved overland with troops from here and attacked Octavian's army, they could lose all their ships. The loss of the navy meant that the whole coast would fall into Octavian's hands. A council was convened to discuss the decisions to be made regarding the ongoing war. Within this council, various viewpoints were presented, each representing opposing stances. Cleopatra put forth the proposal of engaging in a naval battle in order to dismantle the enemy's defenses. On the other hand, Crassus, the leader of the land forces, contended that Octavian possessed considerable expertise in naval warfare, while Marcus Antony commanded a formidable land army and held vast experience in land combat. He argued that it would be wise to send Cleopatra back home and launch an attack against Octavian's army by traversing overland to Macedonia, subsequently receiving reinforcements. Nonetheless, Cleopatra refused to entertain Crassus' suggestion. Given that Egypt would become defenseless under such circumstances, she was unwilling to let go of Egypt and raised the point that Antony's entire fleet would be lost without engaging in a skirmish. In the end, Marcus Antony accepted Cleopatra's proposal. The ships would sail out of the Gulf and make a breakthrough against the ships of Admiral Agrippa. On September 2nd, 31 BC, the ships of both sides took up battle formation, putting 1 kilometer between them. Marcus Antony's fleet was commanded by Sosius on the right flank, Marcus Octavian in the center and Marcus Antony on the left flank, while Cleopatra was behind the army with 60 ships laden with treasure and valuables. Octavian's fleet was commanded by Marcus Lurius on the right flank, Agrippa on the left and Lucius in the center. Marcus Antony's ships were much larger and higher than Octavian's. With about 10 rowing rows, these ships were quite cumbersome. Octavian's ships, on the other hand, were much smaller and more maneuverable. According to the plan, Antony's fleet was not to attack, but to wait for the enemy to attack, so that every day at noon, with the wind blowing from the northwest, it would try to break the blockade by passing through the warned enemy and sail south with the strength of this wind. Octavian's Admiral Agrippa, however, was not planning to attack. He kept his fleet stationary until noon, about a kilometer from the enemy. Finally, at noon, Antony's right-wing commander Sosius lost patience and attacked without orders from Antony. And so the war began. Meanwhile, the treasure-laden ships of the Queen of Egypt remained behind the front lines, not taking part in the fighting. The course of the war was not yet clear, but the expected northwest winds were slowly blowing. Taking advantage of this, Cleopatra opened her sails and started sailing southward. With these large ships, which accelerated with the effect of the wind, they managed to break through the ships of both sides and sailed to the open seas. Seeing that Cleopatra managed to escape with the treasures, Marcus Antony abandoned his flagship and left the battlefield with a 5-rowed oar and went after Cleopatra. With this action, Marcus Antony had secured himself, Cleopatra and her treasures. But the remaining ships could not escape Agrippa's grasp. By 5 o'clock, the Battle of Actium had ended in flames. About 40 ships were sunk by Octavian's forces, while the rest surrendered. Thus, the Battle of Actium ended in a great defeat for Marcus Antony and Cleopatra. Marcus Antony, who came to the port of Alexandria with his treasures, lost his ships and soldiers. Octavianus, on the other hand, had not only taken Marcus Antony's soldiers to his side, but also seized more than 120 of Marcus Antony's ships. Thus Marcus Antony's rule in the east came to an end. While they were building a new army in Egypt with Cleopatra, Octavianus had taken Syria with his army. Then the great Roman army moved to take Egypt. Marcus Antony put up a last stand against the Romans with Cleopatra's soldiers in Alexandria, but he was not successful. Therefore, under the guidance of Octavianus, Egypt fell once again under Roman rule. After suffering a crushing defeat at the hands of Octavian, Marcus Antony tragically took his own life, having lost everything he held dear. A few days later, Cleopatra, the Queen of Egypt, witnessed the occupation of her capital by Roman troops and took her own life by drinking poison in her palace. This was the end of the political life of the Roman Republic. After this civil war, Rome became an empire under the leadership of Octavian.